Welcome, everybody, to the Seasons Leadership Podcast, where we are committed to leaders everywhere at all levels who want to make progress on their leadership journey. We will bring you actionable advice to improve your leadership and life today.
Thank you for joining us. At Seasons Leadership, we share a vision to make excellent leadership the worldwide standard. Learn more at seasonsleadership.com. Welcome to Seasons Leadership Podcast, and today we are so fortunate to welcome Beth Schryer.
Thank you, Susan. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, so fun. Beth, you've been here before, and so I really appreciate you coming back again. So tell us what you've been doing. What have you been up to?
My goodness, it's been kind of a journey for me since we last did this.
Yeah.
I was working with a different company, and now I am back up in the Pacific Northwest. I was in Arizona when we last talked, and I'm heading up global real estate and facilities at Microsoft.
That's great.
It's great. Yeah, I'm very thrilled with what's happened and thrilled to be living back in Seattle area. And it's been a complete life change for me over the last couple of years.
It is amazing, and I'm really glad you're back in the Pacific Northwest.
Thank you.
That'll be fun. And you really have gone through some significant changes, not only with your career, but your girls are off to college now.
Yeah, if I think about a time of change,
Yes.
several major things. One, I left a company where I had worked for over 2 decades.
Yes.
That's a huge change. Two, I know the role at Microsoft.
Yes.
So I was starting in at a new company getting all the uptake and the learning for a new place. It's always a huge deal, and I hadn't done it for a long time. My twins graduating from high school and off to college, and us moving back to Seattle. So it's been a ton of change for us in the last few years.
It is a lot. And, as I think about it, you have held leadership positions in every company that you've been in, and dealing with change at work, in your career, and a family life. There's been change in our, political environment, our health environment. It's a lot to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about that in the relation to the topic of leadership, you've always been somebody that I greatly admire, and you show up as the kind of leader that I am proud to follow.
Oh, that's too kind. I
It's
appreciate that.
But it's true. It's true. Do you have any insights for how you do it? How do you show up full of integrity and the person you are every day?
One thing that I was reflecting on recently is because I've been in leadership type roles even before I was in corporate America. When I worked in nonprofit America, I was a manager like right out of college. So I've been in managerial leadership roles. I've been in non-managerial leadership roles. And there's been so much learning on that. Like you couldn't just start into your career and know how to do things or know how you want to be, but always trying to think about who you are and how you want to be, what you want reflected on you, right? What do you want people to perceive about you? And standing somewhat or very true to that. I shouldn't say somewhat, staying as true as you can. It can't always be 100%, but just trying to find those moments where, and when you have choices, do I want to be this leader or this leader? And choosing the one that goes with what you believe in and what you want to be known as, seen as, remembered for, whatever it is, and making those choices. And I think back all of I won't say how many years, but decades that I have been working, and even in college and before, it's just trying to find yourself and be who you want to be can be really hard. And so to be a leader who is a leader that you would want to be led by is kind of what I strive for.
Is it a conscious thought process that you have? If you are confronted with a decision, do you think, how does this align with my values and beliefs? Or
More now than it used to. I think in the less thoughtful, less mature times of my career, I was kind of making decisions in the moment and doing what instinctively felt like the right thing. I can think of a couple times where like I really stepped into to something purposefully and it worked out well. Well, actually, it worked out very well. But I wasn't thinking like, oh, this will make my leadership style be this or to make it be this. It's more purposeful now, like checking myself, like, okay, do I want to be the leader that just comes in with a barrage of questions? Or do I want to be somebody that sits and listens and lets the team put out their ideas and whatnot on the table? And it's actually a practice. You have to practice it every day because we all want to have the right answers and we all want to give advice, but the other people don't learn and develop if that's how you lead, right?
well, or you can't hear their good idea and say,
Yeah, and I won't always out actually, even if I think it's the best idea ever, it's probably not.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, what kind of leader do you strive to be?
Well, I want to be a leader that people appreciate for being thoughtful and being knowledgeable and being honest and high integrity. To me, honesty kind of underpins everything. I was thinking about this as I was thinking about this session, that honesty, it really is the best policy in everything. Honesty in giving somebody feedback, honesty with yourself about how you're really doing, honesty about, how you're feeling about something or on a work product. If I think about it, if you're honest on all of those things, you really are succeeding because you're going to get better work results. You're going to provide better feedback to people, those kind of things. And it's like, and you'll be accepting of feedback because you're more honest with yourself about like, okay, maybe really I'm not all that more. Maybe that wasn't my best moment. Can you tell me how I could have done it better?
Right. I also think what it does, and I know this is true for you, is because I know you're an honest person and you're telling me the truth, you're trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of it and more important quality when you're working with somebody than trust.
Yeah. Trust is so interesting because so many people say you have to earn trust. I really prefer to say you start with trust and you can waste it away.
Yeah.
Right. You can get strikes against it. Cause it's like, assume good intentions, like go in with trust and shame on the other person, if they destroy the trust. I feel like having to build trust with every single person you work with, it could be exhausting.
That's true.
And I was like, why don't we go with the outlook that everybody's in it for the right reasons, they have good intentions, and, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Now, the downside of that is, right, if somebody breaches the trust, I don't have a lot of patience for them.
Right.
There's not a lot of chances. Maybe you could get a couple strikes. I'd love to say I give people 3 strikes. I'm not sure I'm that generous.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I said, honest. But I do think this whole thing of needing to build trust, and it gets reinforced as you hear companies talk about culture. We've got to build trust. We have to build this. We have to build trust. You have to gain the trust. It's like, wow, that's a lot of effort. That if we just said, let's just trust each other. And then if you breach the trust, then you got a problem.
Yeah. It's also a much better, more energizing way to still live every day than to just think, I'm going to think the best.
Yeah.
And go with that rather than think the worst.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give everybody the benefit of having good intentions.
Yeah.
Because in 99.9999% of people are good, they're just trying to do the job.
Right. Right.
To tilt everything to the lowest common denominator isn't, like you said, it's an energy zapping.
Oh, it's not a good way to live. And I don't think you're talking about if somebody makes a mistake. That's not breaching a trust.
Right. No, I mean, I'm talking like I have experience where I specifically told somebody, I'm going to give you a piece of information. It can't be passed on to the customer. And that person passed it on to the customer. And so I said, well, guess what? You're not going to ever get that from me again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was easy.
Yeah.
Right. I trusted. I got burned. You could say I got burned, or the person just was a failure at it. And then that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. It's okay. I moved on.
Yeah.
I still have lots of good information, but he didn't get it anymore.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think leadership, has the qualities of the other honesty, and trust is there, but also being a good listener.
Mm-hmm.
This is something when I say it's a continual practice, it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Am I listening? Am I being patient? Am I really listening? Like giving the space for somebody to share and talk, and making space for myself to listen before I jump into action and jump into advice. And I've been doing some coaching training that's having me think about this some more. And it will be a forever, lifelong practice. Just, do you listen with intent to learn? Do you listen with intent to be open to new ideas, with the intent that somebody's idea may be way more awesome than anything I thought of, an intent to give them good, constructive feedback? I mean, it's really interesting because we all rush in there.
Right. Right. Do you have any practices that you can share that have worked for you for listening?
Well, I would say I do, but I would say there's nothing earth-shattering about them. There's no rocket science here. You can read about these probably in business books. I don't ever love reading business books. I don't think I've ever read a single one all the way from the front to the back. But, ensuring everybody else at the table has had a chance to speak first, stating before I give an opinion, I want to hear from everybody else. Did everybody else get their questions answered? Just making a ton of space for somebody else to be talking, right? That helps me listen more, because then I'm like, instead of sitting and also not sitting there going, okay, when's it going to be my turn? Because I just given them the planning, right? What am I going to say? Right. But just really listening. And often when that's done, you find out you don't have anything to say. It's already been said. And then I'm just not a big fan of people just talking to be heard in a meeting.
Right.
Right. So listening, there's books about it, trainings, but it really is about listening in the moment and giving space to yourself here.
Mm-hmm. It's, I have a belief about this, and that is, I think a person who is a good listener does a few things. It's a gift to the people who are talking, especially in a career job kind of situation, because oftentimes people aren't listened to. So especially from a leadership position, having somebody listen to them, that's an amazing gift. They feel heard, empowered,
Right.
motivated, which is what, that's what you want. The other thing is, it is a really powerful position, because if you watch, the people who are listening are kind of holding the space for everybody, and new ideas will come up, and And people then in turn really listen to that person, so it's a deeper dynamic, than when everybody's just trying to be talking.
Right.
And, they feel like, in order to be heard, they have to talk louder or faster or fill up the space or that kind of thing.
Yeah. And there are times when, I want to be heard and I want to get my ideas or my thoughts out on the table. And then it's important to own it. Like I have prior teams that would be able to quote me saying, okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Like I've said my piece.
Yeah.
It's done. I recognize that it was probably more of a one way, yes, it's a good term, one way, and a nice conversation, but just owning it. So at least we have some self-awareness.
Yes.
But I agree with you on people want to feel listened to.
Yeah.
And I know that I feel more satisfied in my jobs and whatnot when in different roles, when you feel like you've been listened to.
Yeah. Heard and seen and not just a cog in the machine.
Right. Or people jumping to conclusions about something you did or didn't do, or rationale of why you did or didn't do something. And that listening and lots of questions can really help that. Help that dynamic. The caution on the other side of it is, don't mistake somebody sitting quietly for being a great listener. It's true. Right. So you do have to do that.
Yeah.
Everybody get there. If you're facilitating a meeting, did everybody have an opportunity? Did everybody have a chance? I mean, when I provide that space, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's high. Like 75% of the time, those quiet people will have something to say. And they need to just be invited.
It's true.
It is true. So there is that side too. It's like, listen, but also be aware of the dynamics.
Yeah. Well, it is true. What you're saying is, so I can imagine you are leading and providing this space for people. It also sets up the culture that you expect people to be present.
Yeah.
And participating, and which is a whole another aspect to or fallout of good listening, because there may be just one time that somebody is maybe not saying anything but maybe spacing out or thinking about what they're going to do next, and then you invite them to give their opinion. And they don't really have an opinion or even really know what the question is.
Put them on the spot.
Well, and it may not even be on purpose that you've done that, but it won't ever happen again.
I think everybody's written a grocery list sitting in a meeting at one time or another in their career, right?
Never.
This happens. Yeah. Then, of course, we should be asking ourselves why we're even in that meeting.
Yes.
When saying they're writing a grocery list.
Yes.
Another point of honesty.
Yes.
Is to be able to say, I don't really need to be here.
That is true.
Because so many people feel like they have to be there. They have to have every ladder in the chain of command has to have the seat filled. And I'm a leader who will just try to just ask the person who will have the answer instead of running up and down through chains of command. It's not always comfortable for everybody, but, I try and just be open about it and say, hey, I asked your person about this, or, I'll just be going straight to so-and-so to get these answers. Just so it's not behind anybody's back, but it takes time to go through chains of command.
Well, that I wonder about that, because it may not be comfortable for you, but I would imagine that it's even more comfortable if the company culture is such that this is how we do things. You don't have to skip levels. You don't do this thing. I mean, I hear that a lot.
I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Without naming names.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, people have perceptions about how companies work.
Yeah.
My experience is that large corporations, they're not that different from each other.
Right. Okay.
I mean, we don't just say it plainly. I think that hierarchical dynamic, it definitely exists in big companies.
Well, and how inefficient is that? My perception is it's really all about maybe insecurity.
Well, it's culturally too. Like, how do people react to you if you don't know the answer, right, to a question that somehow came out of your area of responsibility? It's all cultural how people react to that. I'm a firm believer in thanking people for bringing me bad news.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and you don't know everything. I mean, nobody knows everything.
Right.
And if you try to control and manage the information,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. It's a lot of energy, and you could be focused on being more productive.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, just transitioning companies and what seems the same and what's different. And that has been one point of sameness that has surprised me a little bit, is just the bureaucratic nature of large companies. And I say that without meaning I don't mean that all negatively. Like, big companies have a lot to manage. They have a lot of risk. They need to have a lot of discipline, policies, and protocols. Absolutely. But it's just so interesting. You would think that maybe one company might have less or more than another. I think they're all very similar.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of just, in my reference point at this point in my career are large corporations. When I worked in nonprofit a long time ago, in small organizations, I worked in a couple different those, and those were kind of the same also when you went from one to the other. Different than big corporations, but you might think, oh, if I go to this organization, it's going to be like that, and I go to this, it's going to be like that. And fundamentally, you still have to kind of manage the same kind of things, right?
Right. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's been eye-opening to me at this point in my career, that you wouldn't jump companies kind of look at the same strata of size or close to size if you want to actually have a completely different way of working.
Well, and what is coming up for me too when you say that is that, sometimes, I would feel frustrated with all the administrivia, that you have to do. And so maybe when we realize that, this large company, it has this. So it's like, get over it.
Right. It's not only does a large company have it, I think every job has elements of the job that you don't like as much as the fun stuff or the exciting stuff. And so accepting that, so it's less of a frustration point, and I still get frustrated. So it's not like I've mastered this, but because the stuff that gets you up and to work every day and what you love your job, when that stuff is going on, you have these really, euphoric, it's great to be working here, doing this, that, and the other. And then you have the administrivia, as you call it, or whatever bogs you down. And you just kind of go, oh, geez, here we go. But recognizing that every job has some element of it that you don't like as much as the others. Right? And that, try and coach people on that too, because, I just really hate or just like this. And you go, but is that, 90% of what you're doing, or is that 5% or 2% of what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, it should be smaller. And the other thing that comes up for me is all the people who do those jobs, having those as main portions of their jobs.
Yeah.
We need to be nice to them.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, because those are hard jobs.
I mean, since I worked in facility management, facility operations, I think janitors when I see them.
Yeah.
That's time. And I realize, that there are lots of people out there working that don't get thanked and recognized.
Mm-hmm.
I always say how everybody wants more recognition, this, that, and the other. Think about the jobs that, really don't get recognized.
Right.
Because they don't maybe even get it in the pay.
Right.
So
they may be invisible. We don't see them. They right behind the scenes. We don't even know to thank them.
Yeah. So I definitely have been way more conscious about thanking janitors and groundskeeping people you might pass in downtown Seattle with, the city street crew.
Right.
I mean, just people that are just trying to get by, make a living, and
do a good job.
Doing a good job and coming to work and being committed every day. So, yeah, that's good.
Good. Well, what have we not covered that you wanted to cover?
Well, I will tell you that honesty and listening were two things that were really on my mind coming into this. The other thing I was just sitting here thinking is, it's not like I have all the answers. So it is really, I've been fascinating myself doing this coaching training. And it's like all the things that we know that we don't let come out and be practiced every day. It's like, why do we suppress these things that we know to be good practices? And I think leaders draw on a whole portfolio or suite of good practices. And again, nobody's perfect, but if you have a solid portfolio of good practices, they're probably more readily available.
Well, and practicing.
Practicing them. And it is a practice because, I mean, I said already, so it's repeating myself, but who doesn't want to have the right answers? Who doesn't, and so to be a good leader and have people say, wow, that was really helpful, or, that just makes my day. That if I'm talking to somebody about a situation and hearing them out and, asking questions and then offering some thoughts and observations. And that's another thing I do try and do is offer things as ideas and suggestions, but not like, go do this, go do that. People have to find their own resolution to things. But to offer, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And help people. And if they say, oh my gosh, thank you, that helped me think about it different, or I really appreciate the insight, it definitely is a huge win for me. I mean, that's probably the best it gets.
Yeah. I bet you get it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what a lot is. I get enough that I can keep you going. It keeps me going.
Yeah.
Along with the other excitement of work and whatnot. And just, I work in a very tangible field, which is different. I know I haven't always worked in real estate and facilities management. So when you can touch and see the product of your effort, it really is. I can see why people who are in, like, say, manufacturing or they're a designer, they make something and designs, and then you can see it. It really is. I can see the satisfaction there. Yeah.
Another thing I know you do well, and I think this maybe helps you with being able to do the practices and having the energy, time, and focus to do it, is taking care of yourself.
With my broken figure.
Well, I know things happen, but so many times what I hear from leaders is that they are so busy, they're underwater, they don't have many people to talk to, they're kind of lonely, and they feel this weight of responsibility on them. And yet, when they say, have you had a moment to breathe? And you walked around the block and they say, I know I should do that, but I don't. So how do you make time for yourself?
Well, that's a good question, because I don't always feel like I'm making enough time for myself, but I definitely have. And I've never tried to do it all. That's one thing I would just say right off the bat. I have a personal philosophy about, it's not work-life balance, it's work-life choices. And I've said that for years now, been on panels and talked about that a bit around I don't believe in work-life balance, because balance, to me, I think of a scale. And I think of things being, parity or, equally balanced. And there's nothing balanced about working for 9 or 10 hours, add a commute in there if you need to. So then it's like, 10, 11 hours. There's nothing balanced about then getting home and you have just a few short hours before everybody goes to bed.
Right.
And so I've always thought I've never tried to do it all. And I also have never had this superwoman thing, like it's all balance and it's all works. To me, it's that choice. It's what choice is the priority in that moment. So does the family or the kids, whatever, get the priority that day? And then when I leave work and go to a school thing, or does work get the priority? Does the work trip get the priority? Do I have to miss? I missed one birthday for my twins. Was I going to go on that trip and miss the birthday? And that was a choice. I didn't have to go on the trip. I could have taken the repercussions if there were any, and who knows? Right. It's always probably more is going to happen than ever would.
Yeah.
But I think about choice because it is a lot. I mean, women do get the brunt of things, even with partners, husbands, whoever, with very good intentions, right? We're fully supportive. The kids turn to the mom. The decisions around the house often turn to the mom, right? So that women take a lot of that. And so I just try to kind of do it like one thing at a time. Because it can be overwhelming. So overwhelming. I just have the most crazy, 4 months that I could ever imagine. And back in May, I said, if I'm still standing on 2 feet in October, I will have succeeded.
And look at you.
And it's an answer. It's an answer. But it's hard to even explain to anybody what, like personally, professionally, the last few months were like, because I had 2 high school seniors, all the graduation and all that stuff. They had their summer jobs and they were in transition, getting them ready for school and all their, dorm stuff that they were doing and was piling up in my living room and all these things. And then, getting them to orientations in the summer and going with one of them. And I had like the calendar mapped out, with 3 colors. And I'm not one to have this for my life, but I had like 3 colors going. And I had these little micro trips. You were even part of one of these micro trips because I was fitting these things in and then moving girls into 2 different universities and then moving our whole life from Arizona to here and getting our house ready for sale. So I could go on and on, but it just like figure out what success looks like. And to me, I'm like, success was if I'm still standing on 2 feet, and luckily I didn't break my foot because I would have failed. But if I'm still on 2 feet by October, I've done a good job.
That is good.
So, it's like little wins almost, right? But it gets to defining what does success look like.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to work 12 hours a day when I'm doing all those things I just noted.
Yeah.
Right. So again, it gets back to the priority of choices and the trade-offs.
Well, it sounds like, and this is, no big surprise, but like we started about what kind of leader you want to be. And you said it's thoughtful and intentional, and you are choosing to be, you're making choices of how you want to show up as a leader. Well, it's not just a leader, it's your whole life. You're choosing how to show up.
Yeah, I don't always do the best job, right? It's another fascinating topic to me that you usually treat and interact with people at work better than you may at home, right?
Yeah.
So I have to practice my practices at home too.
Well, it's true. Yeah, it's just that, so, that we're aware of it,
Try to be.
Yeah.
I found out recently I'm an advice monster. I was training I've been, and this guy's talking about the advice giving monsters. He said we're all advice giving monsters. I'm like, oh my gosh, it describes him perfectly, especially at home.
Well, then did you hear it from your twins?
No, isn't this coaching
Oh,
class?
so you didn't hear it from your twins. It's okay.
No, but when I said it to my husband, I said, you know what, I found out there's a term for me. It's called advice giving monster. He laughed. He said, yeah, that sums it up. So sometimes I need to keep practicing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's good advice.
Oh, but
for
it's
us all.
perfect.
That's good advice for us all.
Yeah,
Keep
no,
practicing.
but it's perfect.
No.
I'm far from it. I just feel like I have so much to learn still.
Yeah.
Because you deal with different and new people all the time.
Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, it is fun most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to have those learning edges every now and then. Otherwise, it makes you think. It does.
Right? Like, you just go, okay, how could I have done this better? Or how could I have communicated this better? Or how could I have had a better interaction?
Yeah. Or I never even thought that could happen.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. I got mine out. I thought it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And oopsies, it's not only not as a not a no-brainer, there was other brains about it that I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Humbling, right? Being humbling. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard other various leaders talk about being humble.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're not humble, it's so icky to hear them talk about it.
Yeah.
But when they are humble, you really, it just like grabs me.
Yeah.
Because it's authentic if they really are, but it's like humble is a trait that I don't think I have it. I think it's a really powerful trait. And so when I see it in somebody and then they talk about it, you go, okay, yeah, they got it. They got it. And it's just really.
Can you describe what you're seeing?
When they really are appreciative of people and they know they're not the smartest person and they know that others have helped them get where they have gone, especially if it's like a senior leader. And nobody gets there by themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes an army of other people along the way, and it takes work of other people, and it takes, and when people are really appreciative of that and they understand it and they recognize it continually, that to me is kind of what humble looks like, I guess.
Yeah.
And so now when they talk about being humble as a good quality as a leader or as a person, you go, oh yeah, it's really, it's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's almost offending when somebody is not humble, talks about being humble, that they're, as if they're, that they're humble, and where you're not humble. So it's, so I would never call myself humble because I don't think that's a humble thing to do, but I don't think I'm humble. I think I do get on my soapbox sometimes. Sometimes I do, assert myself in a way that wouldn't be very humble. Right?
Well, maybe it's a spectrum,
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just, it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
And so that's another kind of getting back to one of your earliest questions, leadership quality. That's one I didn't voice then, but now that I talk about it and think about it, it's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually, dare I say, hard to come by.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I got. So I keep thinking of different leaders in my head, and I think humble, no. And I go the next one, I go humble, no. Yeah, I think it's hard to come by.
Yeah. Well, we need more. So
yeah,
there you go.
And then fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Somebody who can laugh about things or be personal about things and just bring that.
Oh, that is true. That is true. I think one of the best advice I got was from my uncle. And he said, hey, we got to have fun. And, he had some tough
Your
jobs.
whole family is like an unloving family.
Well, it's true. I think it's very, you can do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all can do hard things, but you can do them for longer and maybe longer, have more endurance when you're having fun along the way.
Yeah.
And then, enjoying each other, enjoying the journey. And sometimes as a leader, you have to make the fun.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm really good at that. I'm not a big party planner kind of person.
Yeah.
So I'm always soliciting help, like, hey, can we do this? Do you have any good ideas? Like, I have to outsource it.
Well, it's true. My uncle would do some fun things, and it's like not big things.
Mm-hmm.
And
You can give me some ideas.
yeah, well, one thing what he did now, North Lake Pizza isn't there anymore. It's not? No, I don't think so. Maybe it's back, but I don't think it's there.
Gosh, I swear I drive by that place.
I know there might be something else there.
Oh.
We have to go look. But that was a famous, pizza place. And so he would have them delivered to people that did a good job at work.
Is this fun?
It was totally fun, it's not a huge deal, right? But everybody loved it,
Yeah. Could he outsource it? Did he have an assistant that would help him do these things?
He may have, yes. But I think he did it himself because I also know he did it personally. And so North Lake Pizza could send them a pizza frozen. So he'd send it across the United States.
This is a whole new idea.
Yeah, it's just something, I'm thinking about you, I see you, have some fun.
That's good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and I think fun is something that can't get lost easily.
Well, especially when we are working on complex projects. Yeah, think about all during the COVID, that was not fun.
Oh my gosh. From being in facility management,
Yeah.
COVID was the worst.
Yeah.
And I was getting do you want to be in this recipe club? And do you want to do this? And all these people were just home twiddling their thumbs. And I'm like, stop, I can't take it anymore. I'm working 12 or 14 hours a day trying to figure out the cleaning protocol. Sit in the teeth. Do they change the next day? What's the PPE? And can people sit this close together? Is it 6 feet, 4 feet?
Yeah.
I mean, do they need plexiglass? Right here it was crazy. Oh, I don't want to do that again.
No. But I guess maybe if we would have had this conversation then, maybe at that point you couldn't have heard it because you're so overwhelmed with everything. But just thinking the question, are the poor people at work putting these plexiglasses and things together? Are they having fun? What can we do? They have an insert.
I never thought about whether they're having fun. I was definitely their champion, and I was worried for them and trying to make things as good as possible because a lot of my team had to still come to work and do the things.
Right.
And I didn't think about the fun aspect.
Right. Well, I don't know. Maybe it would have been not good. People might have said, what do you think?
Yeah, people are dying and
you're trying to do this. But it's something to think about.
Yeah,
I think
it's good.
and serve it, keep people going.
It's a muscle. Maybe I can grow that muscle. I'm been very good.
Life is too short not to have a little plan. Yeah.
I like to have fun. I'm just not good at planning.
Yeah. Well, you can't outsource. You have a team. There's probably somebody there who loves to have fun.
Yeah. We're doing a fun contest right now, and people are making up stories. How did Beth break her finger?
Oh, that's a
And
good one.
a winner. So I guess I do have that's a good idea. I don't know, maybe I do, and the winner's going to get $250 to donate to their charity of their choice.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, just for people on my team. So sorry to all the viewers, you don't get to participate.
Okay, well, I'm not going to ask you how you.
I won't tell you.
No, but maybe what we can do is, depending on when the contest is over.
It's over in 2 weeks.
Oh, good. So we can put in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be good. Maybe we can put the story in there.
Yeah, perfect.
All those, they have a word limit. I think it's 250 words. So they're not that
perfect. So we can add that to the story. Beth broke her finger.
And they're really fascinating part of it, some of the stories are being written by Microsoft's AI Copilot. Yeah,
Really?
just pretty cool.
Wow. Is it good?
Yeah, it was very good. And one is a rhyme.
Really?
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see who wins.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So not that like I say, I'm shamelessly plugging Microsoft's AI product, but it's pretty cool that you can ask it to write a story about how Beth broke her finger.
That's good. Can you put it to music too?
Probably.
That would be great.
I asked it to come up with some like walk-on music for me for something, and I said like what the theme of my meeting was and stuff, and it gave me like a bunch of choices. Yeah.
I thank you for being.
Oh, I'm so glad you did it again. You're too kind to have me. It's so much fun.
Well, it is fun, and we will do it again at some other point.
Sounds
Maybe at your next transition.
all right. That sounds good.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. We hope that you were inspired by this conversation.
And we invite you to join our community on Patreon. See the link below. There you will find more resources to help you on your leadership journey.
Make sure to join us next time for more conversation about leadership excellence.